Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today we're talking about OCGN and mainly pertaining to Covaxin. So let's jump right into this one. So OCGN, we'll start with the latest news before we go towards institutional buyers and technical analysis. And a big part of this one here is Covaxin. Now, they're not the producer of Covaxin. They're not the people behind the exact research or original research of Covaxin, but they have licenses in order towards introducing it and testing it in the US. And we're going to go through that. So right here, through their actual presentation that was put up less than a week ago, I believe on the 31st of March, and what you have right now is that US EUA pathway in development with a master file submitted, an EUA in India for development partner, and currently it has 81% efficacy phase 3 interim analysis. Now, Covaxin is actually a whole virus inactivated vaccine, which is different than what you see in Pfizer and Moderna, and it's a little bit more closer towards AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson. Now, quickly here, active immunization to prevent COVID-19 caused by SARS-CoV, so that's their COVID vaccine part, but they also have their own research and development pipeline. For instance, you go for the OCU400, the OCU410, and the OCU200, which respectively for the first two, they go for modifier gene therapy platform, and the latter goes for novel biologic. And they have different indications, including associated retinal degeneration, mutation for RHO, associated retinal degeneration again. A bunch of them are that. The last one is dry AMD for dry age-related macular degeneration. And then OCU200 has diabetic macular edema and diabetics retinopathy and wet age-related macular degeneration. And we get to see that a bunch of them here, they're still not even in phase 1-2. They're more ending the IND enabling. And you get to see that these currently here in the indications for OCU400 and OCU410, there's no approved therapies that currently exists. And now going on towards Covaxin. So it's a whole virus inactivated COVID-19 vaccines licensed from Bharat Biotech, BBIL, for the US market. And for this one here, they have around active immunization to prevent COVID-19 vaccine by SARS-CoV-2, so that's the proposed indication. The target population is 12 years of age and older. Dose level is 0.5 milliliter per dose suspension, 2 doses at day 0 and day 28, and presentation 10 doses per vial. Storage between 2 and 8 degrees Celsius with an expected shelf life of around 2 years and a room temperature of around 25 degrees. That will take 3 months for expiry date. So Covaxin elicits broad spectrum immune response around 98.3 seroconversion, both humoral and cellular responses generated against multiple viral proteins, effectively neutralize UK variants of SARS-CoV-2, reducing the possibility of mutant variant escape. Now, Covaxin is easy to stockpile, store, and distribute with a standard vaccine storage of around 2 to 8 degrees Celsius for 2 years and 3 months stability at room temperature. Covaxin is based on a proven technology platform, which is inactivated viruses. We've done that for a while, such as influenzas, polio, rabies, GAV, etc. That's main vaccine type that we'll be using. So Moderna and Pfizer are a little bit newer ones with protein RNA rather than an inactivated virus. So phase 2 clinical studies covered pediatric population of 12 and above. Now, Covaxin formulation introduces a Th1 response, which is a cell-mediated immunity. And now the difference between Covaxin and mRNA and adenovirus-based vaccines is that they have the spikes. Now with the Covaxin, they have the nucleocapsid, the membrane, the small membrane protein, and the spikes in there. Myself, I guess for my part, I don't mind either ones, but some people are more comfortable with the technology that currently exists, such as the one Covaxin is going with, which is an inactivated virus. For me, an mRNA spike of protein isn't much difference for me personally, but again, I'm a civil engineer and I just read academics papers rather than practitioner as a medicine industry, in the medicine industry. And currently you have Covaxin, Pfizer, Biotech, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and you get to see the current stage. So EUA in India and pre-EUA discussion with the FDA. Currently, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson have EUA. Now AstraZeneca has an EUA in India and in UK. And currently they say all of them are S protein. That is for the antigen here. Now, technologies, as it did say, AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson, my bad, is similar a little bit to Covaxin in the sense that Pfizer and Moderna are more of a lipopolyx of SARS-CoV-2 S protein mRNA. Meanwhile, AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson is a non-replicating infectious adenovirus. Now, for Covaxin is an inactivated SARS-CoV-2 virus aluminum hydroxide TLR agonist. So basically, it's a little bit of a different technology than AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson, but closer to AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson than Pfizer, Biotech, and Moderna. And in terms of Covaxin here, some of the better advantages of Covaxin here, or sorry, the advantages itself, is the stability at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, which is as well available for adeno-based, and the multiple viral antigens which Covaxins would be able to deliver, or then mRNA and adeno-based, which in return is more targeting towards the multiple variants or the different variants that are there, whether the UK or the Brazilian variant. And we move on to some of the actual planned rollouts. So currently they have EUA in India, so start of mass immunization has already started. And the next thing is OCGN signs definitive agreement for Covaxin in the US, and phase 3 interim analysis result first half of 2021. You have the planned EUA filing with FDA, which I do believe has already gone through as per their indicators and messages here in the presentation. And the planned rollout is somewhere in the second half of 2021 for Covaxin vaccinations available in the US and established Covaxin manufacturing in the US. So the current target is 100 million doses per year starting 2021. They have an 81% efficacy in phase 3 in interim analysis in India. And another US EUA pathway to development master file already submitted with initial US supply from partners, BBIL upon receiving EUA. A bunch of people are talking about GlaxoSmithKline being their partner because they've mentioned previously Pennsylvania location, and JSK's current headquarters is in Pennsylvania. So executive tech transferred to the US sites. And currently for clinical trials, they're going on for phase 3 when this is supposed to be the biggest thing, because phase 2 was 380 subjects, phase 1 was 375, phase 3 is 25,800, which is usual, by the way. That's usually the trends where they go for. Phase 3 tends to go for efficacy and safety in a larger scale. And then we're going to move on to some of the SEC filing before we go on towards news. In the SEC filing, some of the things you see is the proposed shelves for maximum offerings. And you get to see, well, there's almost 100 million general in terms of that shelf, or close to, I think, around 7 million. And that is something that is normal. And we'll take a look into that in a second, because a lot of these pharmas burn out on cash because they don't have a strong revenue platform. So here on the SEC filing, our cutting-edge technology pipeline includes a COVID-19 vaccine, which is the Covaxin, and they're co-developing Covaxin with Bharat Biotech for the US market, modifier gene therapy platform, that's for NHRS, nuclear hormone receptors, and believe that their gene therapy platform has potential to address many retinal disease, including retinitis, Leber. I'm not gonna attempt reading all of them just because they're a tongue twister, but novel biologic therapeutics or therapies for retinal diseases are as well for OCU400, as I did discuss earlier. Moving on. We've already gone through some of the tracks for the full year 2020 updated results. They're on track for 4 phase 1 to 2 clinical trials encompassing Ocugen's ophthalmology off pipeline in 2021 and 2022. Now, we're also going to take a look into their financials and institutional buyers in a second, as discussed earlier. And here on their statistics, of course, the price over sales is down or up to 28,000 or something. And this is mainly because their revenues are null based on Q4 2020. Net income, they spend around somewhere between -$4 million per quarter. And if you want to be precise, it's around $3.8 million on average. Now, balance sheets here, you get to see that the current total cash they're sitting at is around 24 million as of Q4 2020. They have enough cash more than liabilities and enough cash to keep them afloat for a few quarters. That still won't prevent them to utilize on the massive run in price in order to keep on throwing offerings. Before moving on towards institutional buyers, if you like what you're seeing today here and you would like to see more of this, make sure to hit a subscribe button, leave notifications on, and if you'd like to join our Discord server, it's in the description below. Now, current institutional buyers includes Vanguard Group with around 560, that was on February 10th. Institutional buyers in general in March and April seem to be going on in the positive trend, adding some shares, specifically at the end of March where you see around, let's say, closer to 70,000, 60,000 shares. Early on March, you have 127,000 shares added, and Carroll Financials liquidated their position. So let's move on towards technical analysis now. Now, on the technical analysis point here, on the one-day perspective, even things are looking a little bit more on the negative side momentum. One indicator, or actually two indicators, are bullish. MACD is attempting to go towards a positive reversal here, so that's a good thing. 10 SMA is currently above 30 EMA, and between there is between the $7.70 and the $7. That's where you can start expecting positive reversals to occur. So if it does go within that range with the MACD reflecting that, you might actually see a nice bounce back. On the moving averages, we start expecting the Bollinger Bands to trade between 1049 at the top and 565 in the bottom. Now, stochastic fast and stochastic slow are both telling you to be careful of the next support. Fibonacci retracements shows that the current support is 459 followed by 21 cents. Significant resistances are 731, 950, 1169, 1481, and 1877. Now, price line action shows that there's currently a very strong support at the 606. Following that, we're looking at 528, and we do drop down to 347 after that and 275. Significant resistances, a very strong one sits at 652. Following that, 755. Following that, we're looking at 801, and then 914, and then we're looking into 1092, 1204, and then up to 1292 and 1590. Comes to the question to Ed. What do you think about this one? Definitely, this is one of the stocks that have gone from less than 10 cents or less than 20 cents, trading at 30 cents, and all of a sudden spiking up to 18 bucks. And the funny thing is I did have a position somewhere around here in the middle, and I sold for a small profit. But I'm not salty about it. Things like this always happens, and the quick speculations that I might say, even though I believed in this company at some point, I still believe in terms of what they're trying to do. And you do hope that they actually go through with it and get towards a vaccine, because at the end of the day, that's the end goal for a lot of the economy recovering. However, there is still some obstacles going through. It's going to take some time, and we don't know exactly, because most likely we'll go through fine, because phase 1 and phase 2 has gone successfully. Now, the quick thing that I'm worried about here is, what are the proceeds of money that OCGN will get out of the BBIT agreement, the Bharat Biotech? And we need to know exactly how that's going to reflect in their financials. Now, you might think, okay, they're going to be a COVID vaccine, but what's after that? It's a one milestone, and they're not the ones really that are actually originally developing this vaccine. They're co-developing it for phase 3 for the US market, but they're not really the makers of that vaccine. And that agreement can go sideways too. So there's a lot of speculations there, but things are looking more bullish than bearish. Now, being bullish or bearish, we don't know what price point that we can actually put an intrinsic value at. Are we putting $1? Or are we putting a $300? You can't really tell. You can't really assess these things until they go through and you see some numbers. Speculation is a little bit harder in things like you haven't seen before in terms of earnings of vaccines and how the agreement is going to split the money out of. What do you think about this ticker? Make sure to down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and have a wonderful day.